Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. Reports of positive tuberculosis tests among migrant residents of Harborside Suites in Yarmouth sparked fear in the community this week that a public health crisis might be on the horizon. Cheryl Ball, administrator of the popular Cape Cod Concerned Citizens Facebook group, addressed the select board on Tuesday during public comment to voice her concern.
It has come to my attention that there are 4 confirmed cases of tuberculosis at Harborside, and others may be pending because not everyone has been tested. This information has been known for a couple of weeks, and it has not been made public to the Yarmouth residents and taxpayers. It's been quite a while since we've had any update on our town website about the Harborside Suites. I believe October 26th is the last date we received an update. So I think we deserve to be informed as to what is going on over there, especially now that there also seems to be a public health concern.
At the Board of Health meeting the day prior, Health Director Jay Gardner stressed that the public is not at risk of a tuberculosis outbreak. The positive tests being the result of either latent TB or a false positive from a TB vaccine are not indicative of active infection.
It's important to you that the listeners and the board understands there are no communicable diseases at the Harbor Suites, okay? There aren't any associated with this population here. And that's important. It is being monitored. The VNA of Cape Cod, they monitor our MAVEN system. There are no active cases of tuberculosis there. That's important that you understand that.
Many, many countries use a vaccine that we don't in this country. The BCG vaccine is what the name of it is. And what can happen is, it's used worldwide. That if someone has that skin test where they put the needle and they make the little bump and so on, that could become positive even though the person has never been exposed to tuberculosis. So because of the vaccine, the person could be testing positive, either because they have the vaccine and or actually have latent or tuberculosis. One thing that people could think of tuberculosis, of latent tuberculosis, is like those of people who have had chickenpox, I guess, where the virus stays dormant in anyone who has, just quiet, and it can kind of come back. That's when someone will get zoster. It's sort of a reappearance of the virus. What's that?
Shingles.
Shingles,
Yeah.
Thank you, yeah. People with latent tuberculosis, a lot of people can be treated for it. There's a regimen or choices of regimens where people who have latent tuberculosis perhaps should be treated, and that certainly needs to be determined by a health provider to make a decision whether that person, if they indeed have latent tuberculosis, should they be treated for it. That just because you're treating someone doesn't mean they could possibly infect somebody else. It's protecting that person who would have been exposed at some point to tuberculosis. This may not be relevant in that these people may not have latent tuberculosis. They just may have a positive test because of the vaccine that I described.
Right.
That'd be interesting to know because, if they have latent tuberculosis, then, many people choose to be treated because later on they could become immunosuppressed, and at that point, the tubercle bacillus could come out and cause active infection.
More likely to treat someone if, yes, they're immunocompromised, they had an organ transplant, or perhaps they have what's called type 1 diabetes, or they're immunocompromised, they may be taking medication for arthritis or whatever it is. Those people are more likely to get treated. So that would be important to find that out. It may be a nice thing to do for the people who tested positive, get more information for them.
I can do that, but I would like, if anyone listening to this on a rebroadcast or even tonight here, that latent TB is not, in fact, a communicable disease. That's very clear, right?
Right.
We're not-
It's
So
not
that didn't show, it's not active infection.
Right.
So that there's no ambiguity here that, in fact, it's not a communicable disease and that, in fact, the community is not at risk.
At Tuesday's Select Board meeting, Town Administrator Bob Wittenauer echoed the health director's sentiments, adding that the information was not shared with the public because it is a non-issue. No one at Harborside has symptoms of tuberculosis or any other active communicable diseases.
I didn't raise any alarm on this because of the nature of the report I have received within the last 2 days from the Board of Health, and it is with respect to the medical testing of the individuals in the migrant program staying at the Harbor Suites, and it was stated that there were instances of tuberculosis. And I just need to make everyone clear that if an individual contracts tuberculosis, the traces of that disease remain in your body, forever. And so long after you have active tuberculosis, that it can be detected, and that's exactly what has occurred with a small number of the residents there, that they had identified through their medical testing these latent tuberculosis infections that were not active, were from years previous, are not contagious or active in any way, shape, or form, and the individuals there do not have symptoms of that. So based on the information I received from the Board of Health, that there's absolutely no risk to our general population as a result of those cases. I didn't raise it to a level to attempt to convince people that there was an active threat when there's not. In fact, there are actual people that have nothing to do with the migrant program that do have active cases of tuberculosis in our community, and those are being managed, by case professionals, handled in a certain way, but they don't involve these folks. And so the Board of Health, in giving me this information, they made sure that I understood it, and that I was careful not to present this information in a way that may spike fear in the community that there are active cases of tuberculosis associated with the migrant housing there. So I just wanted to make you aware of that, and I can get a fuller report on all of the details of how that latent situation and what the Board of Health is doing with their test results.